settlement. Larry Bushard was arrested in September of 2025 and jailed in Perry County. The meme, which Bushard did not create or alter, showed the text, quote, "We have to get over it," next to an image of the president, citing a comment the president made on the Perry High School mass shooting the day after. Bushard wrote, "This seems relevant today." He was charged with threatening mass violence at a school. However, the district attorney declined to prosecute, and Bushard filed the lawsuit.
Yeah, so that's pretty interesting. And the fact that, like, the whole thing with that has reversed so quickly. When that started, like right after he died, there was this big push to, um, you know, turn him into some kind of martyr and villainize anybody who said anything, short of he's the greatest, So they went so hard with that. And then shortly after, he became a meme. And he has become like the new Harambe, or I think that's the gorilla meme. That, like, it was a serious news story, and then it just got turned into this ridiculous thing through the meme, and it's happened many times since then. But Charlie Kirk is like the most ridiculous example of it. And I think that the turning point was, no pun intended, was the song, the "We Are Charlie Kirk" song, because they tried to push that, and then it got memed so crazy, and it just it became a joke. And now he gets memed into everything. And honestly, I I I feel like he would have wanted it this way. And because when he died, he had the Cartman, them making fun of him as his profile picture, like the Cartman version of him. So, I don't think we're being that disrespectful of the deceased to say that. But it's very interesting to me how people really did get fired from their jobs. This guy went to jail. I don't know if he's the only one who was arrested. I know the police visited multiple people's houses, so there's that. But yeah, it's kind of wild how that all shifted real quick. Trump's talking about running in 2028 and 32 again. But I mean, he ain't gonna make it there.
11, we're way down on icebreakers, and we've ordered 11. We're working with Finland. They make icebreakers. They make the best icebreakers. We're going to learn everything we can learn. We're going to shortly make them ourselves. But we're making right now, currently under construction, we have 11 beautiful. And I said, come on, when's the first one coming?
I didn't bring the screen up. Yeah, thanks.
They said in 28. I said 11, we're way down on icebreakers, and we've ordered 11. We're working with Finland.
I don't know what he's talking about, icebreakers.
And they make icebreakers. They make the best icebreakers. We're going to learn everything we can learn. We're going to shortly make them ourselves. But we're making right now, currently under construction, we have 11 beautiful. And I said, come on, when's the first one coming? They said in 28. I said, I'm going to be here in 28. Maybe I'll be here in 32 too. I don't know. Maybe I will. But I'm going to be here in 28. And I'll tell you, I said, that's great, because I'm going to be there at the dedication. They have been trying to get icebreakers for years and years, and no president.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know if that can necessarily be interpreted as he's going to be president then. People were saying maybe he just got news that he doesn't have long to live. So he's just talking about how long he's going to be here. We've been talking about the insider trading thing all week, because it's came out that he was making numerous trades every hour, basically, from the White House. Now, JD Vance is saying that he has somebody else do it for him, so it's not necessarily him. So now, is this him trying to? I guess what he's saying is whoever he's passing along the information to make the trades has no clue about what's happening on in the government, and Trump isn't actually the one who's making the decisions, which is a very, very big stretch. And if he's winning all these trades, that's not going to be very believable. And there are a whole bunch of other politicians who are trying to defend their right to insider trade. Mike Johnson says that they need a little insider trading as a treat to feed their families because they have a lot of trouble doing that with their pay in Congress.
Okay, number one, the president doesn't sit at the Oval Office on his computer on his like Robinhood account buying and selling stocks. That's absurd. He has independent wealth advisors who manage his money. He is a wealthy person. He has had success in business. He's not making these stock trades himself. And your question imputes that. It doesn't say it exactly, but a reasonable person listening to that question would assume the president is sitting around and doing that. He's not. Second of all, you're right. I am a big fan of banning members of Congress from trading stocks. So is the president of the United States. All of us believe that nobody should.
Members of Congress, though, not the presidents, not the president's sons. And yeah, I would beg to differ about him being successful in business. He ran all of his businesses into the ground. He was successful as a reality TV show host.
Be taking proprietary information gained from public service and buying and selling stocks. We want to ban that. We want to ban that process. And I think the way to lead by example is banning that process, banning that approach, and making it illegal, which is exactly what the president has proposed doing. Okay. Yes.
Wild. And now this guy.
Ass.
Tuberville. He says it's no big deal.
Donald Trump, 3,700 stock trades in the first quarter of this year. What do you make of that?
Donald Trump, 3,700 stock trades.
Yeah, in the first quarter of this year, it's like every 9 minutes and 45 seconds a trade. I know it's not him personally doing that, but
exactly. And I do the same thing. I never look at my stocks. He does the same thing. You give it to somebody who knows what they're doing. That's how this country runs. People have jobs. Give them your money. If you want to invest in the country and corporations, that's what we all do. I get sick and tired of hearing Republicans and Democrats say we need to stop all this trading. If you're inside trading, you need to stop. But I guarantee you, President Trump's not inside trading. I'm not inside trading. And it's ridiculous even people bring that up. Most people that bring it up don't have a clue what they're talking about.
Got it. Coach, who's going to win the World Cup?
World Cup.
And look at this one. This one's great. Mike Johnson here.
Well, look, the salary of Congress has been frozen since 2009. When you adjust for inflation, a member of Congress today is making 31% less than they made in that year. It goes down every year. And over time, if you stay on this trajectory, you're going to have less qualified people who are willing to make the extreme sacrifice to run for Congress. I mean, it's just people just make a reasonable decision as a family on whether
I don't think we could get less qualified people.
whether or not they can come and move to Washington, have a residence here, residence at home, and do all the things that are required. So the counter argument is, and I have some sympathy, look, at least let them engage in some stock trading so that they can continue to, take care of their family.
Yo. How much does a congressperson make? I think it's got to be over 200K. And they have a ton of perks. Free healthcare, all sorts of shit. They get driven everywhere. They don't have a lot of expenses like we would. Oh, okay. It's not as much as I was thinking. It's like almost 200K. So it's 174K, which is good. Yeah, I'm not sure. I maybe shouldn't trust the Google AI. Yeah, it's 174. Here in vice president, he gets 280. And the other thing is they get so many other opportunities to make money. They get investment opportunities, they get business opportunities, and I'm not talking about to trade on stocks. To just like, hey, there is this new investment and it is legit, and they are going to approach, you know, people in the government first, which is also a shady thing because usually that's an exchange for, favorable regulation and stuff like that, or having mergers approved, or all of the kind of things that we've seen pop up as potential choke points, I guess, that Trump has used to put pressure on people. And the corruption is so deep. Is not just the trading thing. Perfect Union put out this video today about how all of these ICE warehouses, these concentration camp places, the buildings, they were sold by people who were very close to Trump. They were sitting on these properties for a long time, and they were, losing money on them. And then they were sold for more than 10 times what they were worth with, taxpayer money. That big ass bullshit bill. Let's take a look at this video.
When DHS bought up warehouses to turn into ICE detention centers, I noticed something weird. Many of these warehouses had been sitting on the market for years, and now DHS was buying them at a massive markup. Like this warehouse in Socorro, Texas, that sold for 1,000% above its recent valuation.
Kristi Noem once championed this program, but now that she's out, the DHS Inspector General just launched an investigation into these warehouses.
To understand what was happening, I reached out to Michael Riston, a former military analyst who has been tracking ICE warehouses on his site, Project Saltbox.
ICE doesn't necessarily want to be using warehouses. The plan came from folks very close to the White House who were sitting on properties that were causing them losses every year. And the decision was to buy them at taxpayer expense.
So let's take a look at 3 ICE warehouse sales that have used your money to make people in Trump's orbit even richer. First up, Goldman Sachs. It was the majority owner of this warehouse in Roxbury, New Jersey, that ICE purchased for nearly $130 million. That's 137% over a previous valuation in 2025. For years, Goldman Sachs executives have had close ties to Trump, like Steven Mnuchin, who served as Trump's Treasury Secretary in his first term. Next up, Blue Owl. You may not know this private capital company, but honestly, you should. 35 members of Trump's administration reported investments in Blue Owl funds. Even Trump himself has over $5 million invested in Blue Owl, which has also been a major funder of data centers across the country. So maybe it's not a huge surprise that Blue Owl was paid about double the market valuation of a warehouse it owned in Tremont, Pennsylvania. And then there's Deutsche Bank. Through a series of subsidiaries, Deutsche Bank owned a warehouse in Salt Lake City that ICE is now planning to turn into a facility with about 10,000 beds. With their DHS markup, Deutsche Bank essentially pocketed nearly 50 million more taxpayer dollars than if they had sold at market value. Deutsche Bank has loaned Trump about $2.5 billion over the
This shit is insane.
past 2 decades and had 40 different accounts with none other than Jeffrey Epstein. Even though these
Of course.
warehouses haven't been converted yet, Wall Street
And Deutsche Bank was involved in a lot of the corruption with not only Trump and Epstein, but with a lot of the cartels as well. And I believe they had some involvement with some financial crash somewhere as well.
institutions have already cashed in. And the reality is that other Trump-connected contractors are already profiting off of ICE detention facilities with inhumane conditions.
What we're seeing happen now, I never in a million years envisioned seeing this happen on U.S. soil. Never once.
The nearly $1 billion spent on warehouse purchases is just a fraction of the $38 billion that DHS has to build out a mass detention system that could hold nearly 100,000 people. So it looks like there's a lot more of your taxpayer money to go around.
This shit has gotta stop, man. And now, like, there are some very concerning things about the Democrats' unwillingness to reverse this. A large section of them, at the very least. This happened today. Remember the Virginia, if you were tuning in last night, you remember the Virginia governor that I was complaining about because she vetoed a weed bill, which, you know, it was to set up legal, legal shops across the state. However, it is legal technically there. So the black market's still good. So I'm not technically that mad about that, but I am, like, she was like, her reasoning for it was bad. And it seems like she wants to set up like a really heavily regulated market. So that's definitely not good. But now she is vetoing a bill prohibiting ICE courthouse arrests. Governor instead issues order requiring warrant for immigration. Yeah, like that's some half-assed bullshit. And it's like they do that as just some kind of bone to throw people. And it still continues on with the same policies. And this is a former CIA agent too. I remember there was, some controversy when she was, not controversy, but there were these competing narratives, because she won, I think, in the same time frame that Mamdani won in New York. So there was these competing narratives about like what style of progressivism is more popular in the US or whatever. And all the centrists were like, yeah, this Spamberger is awesome. And everybody was like, she's a fucking CIA agent, get her out of here. But this is exactly the same kind of like Fetterman shit. And they complained about Massey, who had, the courage to stand up against the war and against the child trafficking ring that was going on with Epstein. But he was like the one guy over there. But on the Democrat side, it's like more than half the party. I think, was he bought out in the sense that they paid for his opponent to win, or that they paid him to like not pursue like an investigation about how sketchy the election looks and stuff? But yeah, the opponent definitely got massive cash. Yeah. Oh yeah. They funded the other candidate, exactly. It was I saw reports that it was like 33 million. At first I was hearing like 25, but then it was like as high as 33, which is crazy. And behind that one, I think the most that was spent on an election were two other anti-Israel Democrats, which was Jamal Bowman and Cori Bush. And in both of those cases, they spent enough money to have them thrown out of office, which is insane that like you can just do every single time. And that's why a lot of these people just like fall in line. But yeah, Spamberger sucks. This is not the first time that she has like, betrayed the base of people who voted for her, because a lot of the people who did vote for her in Virginia were kind of coaxed into that whole, you got to vote for the more reasonable person, and you got to just, well, once they get in there, they'll help you out with these certain things. And apparently she promised to sign this into law, and she hasn't. She promised a number of things around ICE, including preventing them from wearing masks, preventing them from showing up in polling places, stuff like that, but also has not followed through on those promises. So, it's just, this is why I've never had any faith in politics, and I still don't, but you got to pay attention. You know what I mean? To some extent, anyway. "100% controlled opposition," and like she not even deceptive controlled opposition. Like, obviously, like, you should be like here's the thing. There's supposed to be like an opposition party, like the Democrats are not that. An opposition party would not allow CIA agents into their party and hedge fund people and shit. It just is not, like, unless they're like, you need like a radically different perspective. And then we got the war shit going on too. They're going heavy on Cuba and Bolivia at the same time. So yeah, Marco Rubio delivers this message in Spanish. Let's see if I could get I'm gonna have to read it then. 5 minutes. Damn, bro. It's not gonna be good content. Let's see if I could get some a summary of this. Yeah, he really sucks. All right, here we go. I'll give the CBS News summary. Of course, they're on the Trump I would say payroll, but I think it works the other way around. So, okay. This is basically Marco Rubio putting a message out to the Cuban people, trying to do the same thing they did in Iran, trying to kind of say, now is your time to rise up against the government, and your government really sucks, and they're the reason why your economy is struggling, not the sanctions that we have had on you for generations. And he offered $100 million in relief supplies. That seems like they're gearing up for war, It's, and then they're charging the former Cuban president, Raul Castro, and I guess they're going to try to arrest him in a similar fashion that they have to Maduro. Justice Department charges former Cuban president in fatal downing of planes. The indictment was an extraordinary escalation of the Trump administration's multifaceted pressure campaign against Cuba's communist government. This is like shit that happened 30 years ago. And yeah, he's the brother of Fidel. Yeah, I can see this shaping up very similar to what happened with Maduro. And I mean, these planes were flying around the coast of Cuba. You don't just get to do that. If the US shot down planes from another country that were flying into our airspace, it would be like the other country was attacking us, which was probably what was happening. There's a long history of failed military operations in Cuba. There might have been one a month or two ago. With that whole situation where those guys apparently stole the boat, and it was happening around the same time as they were having a bunch of heated rhetoric about it. Just seems sketch. And then there's a bunch of shit with Bolivia too. Let's see. So yeah, Evo Morales, he's also wanted by the US government. Former Bolivian President Evo Morales and his supporters have issued a 90-day ultimatum to the government of President Rodrigo Paz, demanding new elections or the resignation of the Paz government, while warning of coordinated escalations if their demands are ignored, according to geopolitical analyst Joseph Bucard. The pressure campaign comes after Paz, a right-wing leader who took office in November 2025 as Bolivia's first non-mass president in 2 decades, suffered a major setback in April's regional elections, securing just 2 of 9 governorships despite entering office with momentum. He now faces mounting unrest from Morales' loyalists, major miners' federations, labor unions, and indigenous groups, which have launched an indefinite federal strike. Morales, who governed Bolivia from 2006 to 2019 and was barred from the 2025 election, is currently based in the Romate Chapare region and his longtime political stronghold. So, and apparently indigenous people have blocked the airstrips near there to prevent the U.S. government from landing and arresting him. And I think there were statements by Marco Rubio today about Bolivia and about how, you know, their their democracy must be respected with the person that's in power, which is their person, It's their guy. Who's going to give them the lithium? Exactly. Yeah, here it is. Let there be no mistake, the United States government stands squarely in support of Bolivia's legitimate constitutional government. We will not allow criminals and drug traffickers to overthrow democratically elected leaders in our hemisphere. So, he's calling indigenous people and minors criminals and drug traffickers. And yeah, that's me yelling at him. Then there was this interview with Evo Morales on the Gray Zone. It's long. Maybe I'll cover that on a new one. But yeah, he's still extremely popular. It's just, you know, he hasn't been in office for many years. And he was like exiled. But yeah, let's while I'm on the war stuff, Michael Bay is making a movie about about the pilot rescue that didn't happen. Oh, that's my own thing. Let's look at this. Michael Bay to direct Operation Epic Fury rescue film about 2 pilots recovered from Iran. I don't even think we know the name of these pilots yet. I mean, I feel like I pay pretty close attention to this, and I don't remember him being like paraded around on the news. And you know, I think the most plausible situation there is that it was a failed attempt to raid the uranium that was at that facility. And he's previously worked on military shit. So yeah, it's kind of sus. And it really, really quick too. After, oh, never mind. I thought it was Trump responding to the announcement. He was responding to something different. You know, with the whole Massey thing, the outcome really just seems sketch. Beyond him being, you know, outspent, it's a lot of people were posting shit online about how the numbers really don't add up and something was sketchy was going on. Like, especially if you looked at the person's at just the level of enthusiasm and the amount of people that were at the after events and stuff like that is very weird. And the thing that Ashley St. Clair talked about in that video I watched a few nights ago about how Elon bragged about rigging the election machines, TMZ is posting about that now. I was hoping that the mainstream media would pick that up. They really haven't with a lot of that kind of shit. But TMZ is in this weird redemption arc where they are, yeah, the pilot was from Essential Casting, exactly. But yeah, so I don't know what's up with TMZ or what happened over there. I know the one guy is a Epstein associate, of course, but still, it's kind of wild that they're doing like some aggressive political reporting, which is quite surprising. It might be because our whole world is just a reality show now. But what can you do? Let me see something real quick. Bring up another link. This, oh, it's 1 year old. Why is that? I think there was a new report on this. So, Ontario's police force using growing ecosystem of Israeli spyware. This was a year ago, right? I wonder if, yeah. National Police Force have been using spyware to hack mobile phone devices. And it's just kind of weird because it seems very similar to that Carbine project that Jeffrey Epstein and Ehud Barak, the former Israeli prime minister, was involved with. But it was a little bit different because it did allow them to hack your phone. Through the 911 service, though. I guess the justification was different. It was like if you are having a heart attack or something like that, then they can hack into your phone to see where you're at, or like things like that, to try to help you better. That was the excuse for Carbine. But there were new reports today on Ontario Police Force spyware. And the specific name of the company, I think. Yeah, see, one day ago at the Toronto Star. And they've been trying to keep it a secret, but this is like paywalled, I think. Yeah. Let's see if I could get around it with that link that I use. Where is that? All right. Removepaywall.com. Yeah, I'm sure that even now 911 services have some crazy shit, even if they're not using Carbine. There are a lot of jurisdictions, I believe, in the US that are using Carbine. Let me see for sure. Using Carbine. Yeah. It is in over 23 states. And Ehud Barak and Epstein were some of the main investors. It's used in DC, PA, Florida, Nevada, New York and Georgia, Oklahoma. Yeah, that's what the wiki says. 23 states. Pretty wild. Yeah, and that would even let them hack your camera. It doesn't look like the paywall site is going to get past the Toronto Stars thing. They're locked down. I wanted to see what the new development on that was, though. This is, I guess, a blog that wrote about the same update yesterday. In a new report, the Toronto Star reveals that Ontario Provincial Police and Windsor Police have been using what are known as on-device investigation tools, or ODITs. Essentially, ODITs allow the user to hack into a phone or computer to extract sensitive data like screenshots, passwords, text messages, and more. Naturally, this raises many privacy and security concerns, but the Star notes that police and government lawyers have been fighting to keep their use of ODITs quiet. In fact, a court document filed in Windsor Superior Court reveals that the Crown may even abandon an ongoing prosecution into an alleged international auto theft ring that involved the use of ODITs just to maintain secrecy surrounding the technology. That's interesting because you would think that, like, that's a big bust for them, an international auto theft ring. But in the court case, they would have to reveal how they made the bust. So they might not just let it go now. That's wild. The Crown is arguing that details about how this spyware works must be kept secret if revealing them would just jeopardize future investigations. A separate case in against drug dealers, they're relying almost entirely on evidence obtained by ODITs. That shit's wild. And you know, like, they can get around that in many cases, and I think that's why it's not that big of a deal, like, for them to just let it go, because what they can do is they can investigate you using that, and then they can find other evidence in the course of their investigation, and then they can pretend like they never used that and then just present the other evidence. But in these cases, you know, these people were probably very smart with covering their tracks and, you know, didn't allow the government to get anything except for maybe their phone number or IP address, which they used to hack them. So that's likely what the situation is. But, you know, who knows what kind of shit they got. I gotta close some of these tabs because I opened like 80 tabs trying to get past that paywall. Let's see here. Yeah, there's also an interesting thing happening with these flock cameras. There's gonna be a fight over this shit. Like, it's gonna go down because there are towns that are trying to ban these flock cameras, and there are laws going through on a federal level that will threaten to take away funding from states and things like that if they don't comply with installing these license plate readers that track you everywhere you go. So, you know, let's take a look at some of these stories real quick. Where's the here it is. After town bans flock, council member crashes out, proposes internet and phone ban. After months of discussion and outrage from residents, the city council of the tiny town of Bandera, Texas, voted 3-2 to immediately end its contract with the surveillance company Flock. In the aftermath of the vote, one of the dissenting council members crashed out and said he would be introducing measures to ban cell phones, the internet, cameras, and nearly all technology in the town of roughly 900 people. Bandera had a state grant to install 8 Flock Safety AI license plate reader cameras in the tiny town. He's really pissed that he didn't get that check. The technology proved to be incredibly controversial, with residents repeatedly turning out to the city council meetings to say that they did not want government surveillance in the town. The poles that the cameras were installed on were repeatedly destroyed by vandals in protest, leading the town to have to replace them at their own expense. Last week, the town formally decided to abandon its contract. After the vote, council member Jeff Flowers, a staunch Flock supporter, said that if the people in town wanted privacy, then the city council should ban all technology, essentially calling people who did not want government surveillance hypocrites. Flowers said he would propose a series of new regulations at an upcoming city council meeting, which he is calling the Bandera Declaration of Digital Independence. In a letter posted by the local newspaper, the Bandera Bulletin, Flowers said that in the name of preserving privacy, he would suggest the city go back to the days of the 1880s. That is so batshit. Let's see what his quote says. For months, I have listened to the outcry regarding license plate recognition technology. I have seen the eye rolls, and I have been met with Nazi rhetoric. The dangerous claim that believing in accountability and community safety is somehow equivalent to totalitarianism, Flowers wrote. Comparing a neighbor's desire for a safe street to a dark chapter of history is a classic case of comparing apples to oranges. It's a distraction to avoid the reality of the threats we face today. Dude, that's a ChatGPT ass response, for one. And for two, you are a fascist. Right here, this part. Oh, wait. Where'd it go? He told it to do a semicolon instead of an M dash right there. Let's see. Oh, yeah, and then there's this. This is a federal highway bill that they just snuck this shit into. A bipartisan amendment would end police license plate tracking worldwide. One line tucked into a federal highway bill would strip funds from cities and states unless they kill their automatic plate tracking programs, effectively banning the tech for all but toll collection. Wow, actually, what the shit? I'm surprised about this. This was just published today, like a couple hours ago, so I literally saw this as I was starting the stream, and I was assuming that it was like they were trying to prevent us from stopping it. Especially when I saw it would like strip funds. I was like, so that's gonna be yeah, that's pretty dope if that can get through. U.S. lawmakers plan to introduce amendment Thursday at the House committee markup hearing that would prohibit any receipt of federal highway funding from using automatic license plate readers for any purpose other than tolling. A sweeping restriction that, if adopted, would bring an immediate end to state and local ALPR programs across the United States. Who is, like, I thought that they were all in on, like, what the fuck? I feel like there's got to be a catch, you know what I mean? The amendment, obtained by Wired, is sponsored by Representative Scott Perry, a Pennsylvania Republican and Freedom Caucus member, and Representative Jesus Chuy Garcia, an Illinois progressive whose state has become a flashpoint in the national fight over ALPR misuse. Wow. So I guess like a libertarianish guy has teamed up with a progressive, probably near Chicago, who has been because I know that, like, remember we looked at the map the other night and Chicago was like one of the most intense places for this, and the area around Chicago. Wow, though. Hopefully they can sneak that shit in there and get that shit passed. The House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee will mark up the underlying bill, a $580 billion deal, 5-year reauthorization of federal surface transportation programs. Oh, yeah, Teal is definitely deep in stock. In stock. That's pretty impressive. I'm, you know, so cynical that I went into that thinking that was going to be bad news. But that's surprisingly good. Oh shit. I was going to play this at the opening, but I missed. It was buried in my list. Check this out.
has allowed us to capture 8 of the most violent top 10 most wanted in the FBI's charts in 1 year. Has allowed us to capture.
What was that? That was definitely a coke sniff.
8 of the most violent top 10 most wanted in the FBI's charts in 1 year.
That was going around. Why is that? Look at this. This guy who was running a conversion therapy ministry was trying to meet a teen boy and caught up in some caught up by the cops. An undercover detective posing as a 14-year-old boy. It's always these motherfuckers, man. Like, running ministries, talking all sorts of shit, you know, doing conversion therapy. And then there was another guy who was like, I think, like heavily associated with MAGA. Rowdy was just throwing that in the Discord before the thing, that got caught like smoking meth, and he is like publicly homophobic but privately gay. He wasn't meeting a child, he was meeting adults. So, but, you know, while he's behind the scenes, like while he's making life worse for that community. Why is that keep on? I got the wrong, do I have the wrong link? Yeah, I do. I was trying to bring up this crazy ass video of Ben Gvir like torturing all of these flotilla activists that tried to deliver aid to Gaza.
Free Palestine! Check it.
Yeah, and like they got them all with their hands tied behind their backs, seemed to be in some kind of like pressure position with their heads forced down on the ground and shit. It seems like they are progressively treating these flotilla activists worse and worse. Everyone that comes. They were shooting at them, I saw. And I think there's some people who are even facing very serious charges. Super fucked up. I am bouncing around between topics a little bit now because there's a bunch of different stuff at the end here. I got some more Trump stuff. And a positive story. Well, a positive end to a negative story. Here's Trump being asked what he thinks about people who are worried about the impact of AI on their lives. And he's like, AI is great. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I guess vaguely in response to people struggling financially.
Who are scared by the rise of AI. They're worried.
What do you have to say to Americans who are scared by the rise of AI?
That their kids are not going to be able to have jobs someday.
That their kids are not going to be able to have jobs someday, just in case you can't hear that.
Because AI
Well,
will
I'll tell
take
you,
over.
AI's been amazing because right now we have more jobs, more people working right now in the United States by far than we ever had before. And outside of the war, and I assumed the economy was going to go down, the stock market would go down 20-25%. It's actually up. The stock market is higher now than it was before I started the Iran situation. And on the Iran, I had no choice because they were going to have a nuclear weapon. We're not going to give them a nuclear weapon. But that's going to end soon.
We're not going to give them a nuclear weapon.
Oil is going to come
That was
tumbling down. There's so much. We have 1,600 ships in the strait that are loaded up with oil that are going to be.
We're not going to give them like nobody's giving them a nuclear weapon. They're making that shit on their own, just like we did, just like they should have the right to if we did. We're the only people who fucking used one. So, you know. And here Trump says that if Jesus Christ came down and count the votes, he would have won in California because he does great with Spanish voters or Hispanics. I'm sorry.
You have a rigged vote out.
And he talks about the mail-in ballots being a vector for fraud, and apparently, like, there were a lot of mail-in ballots with Massey.
You have a rigged vote out there. That's the problem. The votes are rigged. You have a really rigged vote in California. You have all the mail-in ballots, everything else. Very hard to win because the elections are very dishonest. If we had Jesus Christ come down and count the votes, I would have won California because I do great with Hispanics. But it's a rigged vote. They
What the fuck does that even mean, man?
send out 38 million votes. Nobody knows where they're going. You have a rigged vote out there. That's the problem. The votes are rigged. You have a really rigged vote in California. You have all the mail-in ballots, everything else. Very hard to win because the elections are very dishonest. If we had Jesus Christ come down and count the votes, I would have won California because I do great with Hispanics. But it's a rigged vote.
It's so weird. His hair has not been looking great these days. So remember this guy who grabbed the like girl at school and told her she was hot as he's drinking from a red Solo cup behind his fucking desk. He's being charged with assault now, which he should be, because that was like extremely creepy and fucked up for that young girl. Like, what the hell? So good to see that, because it looked like he was going to face no consequences at all. And in Tennessee, you never know, you know? So the Daily Wire continues its downfall, and the CEO, who I think like recently replaced another guy, didn't he? Wasn't the other guy Boring or some shit like that? Jeremy Boring, or maybe I thought that he was one of the executives, right? And then I think he stepped down not too long ago. But look at this is one of the worst statements I've ever seen, just as far as cringe factor goes. Stepping down as CEO of Daily Wire, effective immediately. My new title is Guy on the Board Who Still Owns a Lot of the Company. Pay cut in stress. Raise in important things. Handing the keys to Mike Richards. No, not that Mike Richards. Yes, that Mike Richards. 5-time Emmy winner, Hollywood expat, eats, sleeps, and drinks content. Never makes a deal unless the price is right. Built something special here over a decade. We're the largest and most impactful digital media company for people who love this amazing country. And now we make it even bigger. Thank you to our audience of millions. Yes, millions. Not anymore, man. Like, I'll catch up to your asses at this point. You're doing so fucking bad. Oh, shit. I didn't switch it. Here. This is the statement. This is Caleb Robinson. I'm not sure who Caleb Robinson is, but we should check it out. Let's see. I want to get a mental picture here. All right, this seems to be the guy. I think. This seems to be Caleb Robinson. Yeah, I thought that guy was the CEO at one point. Maybe it was just the founder. But yeah, all right. Let's see. That's probably him. And look at this. Some article says Mike failed Jeopardy host Richards named CEO of the Daily Wire. I guess this is the guy. Yeah, typical Andrew Tate looking motherfucker on the other guy. I mean, they're going to continue to get Israel money, I guess. Unless Ben Shapiro is just doing that shit for the love of the game. He could be. But yeah. You know, AI can do the job of executives. It's very interesting that that hasn't been worked out yet, because that is, you know, one of the most expendable jobs and one of the most expensive. They could cut so much, you know, cut so much expense there. Yeah, I guess speaking of that, look at this guy. Standard Chartered to replace lower value human capital with AI. Standard Chartered Bank could cut more than 7,500 jobs as it seeks to replace lower value human capital under technology and artificial intelligence drive. Let's see this guy's quote. He told reporters, "It's not cost cutting. It's replacing, in some cases, lower value human capital with the financial capital and the investment capital we're putting in." What? So what he's saying is that people are worth less than money. That's what this sentence means. I can't interpret this any other way. Like, it's not cost cutting. It's replacing, in some cases, lower human capital with the financial capital and the investment capital we're putting in. That's amazing. This is the guy who's saying that. We are investing in the capabilities that will compound our competitive advantages and drive sustainable growth and higher quality returns over time with clear targets in place. Amazing. I think it's Facebook is getting rid of 8,000 too. But yeah, that is economics. Money is worth more than people because you can pay for people. And that is why super, super rich people are more concerned with the distance in wealth between them and other people than they are with the raw number that they have in their bank accounts. This is why they will spend more money to like work against policy, like by lobbying and stuff, to work against policies that would you know, take some of their control away in the workplace or redistribute some of their wealth, because they don't mind they would rather throw their money away than have it redistributed to somebody else. Or have it redistributed to the poor specifically. They would rather give it to, you know, these people that they work with and shit, like the politicians that they're bribing that are in a very similar class structure to them. So yeah, it's quite interesting how that works, because they will spend so much money, and it seems like an illogical amount of money a lot of times. And it's like, why do they do that? It's because they are more concerned with the distance between, because they know that the farther the distance, the more that they can control other people. And that's what it's really about for them, is not necessarily about buying a second yacht, although they know that they, you know, that their control over other people is what gets them that second yacht. And you know, just to live in constant luxury. And we bought into it, man, as a society. And now we end up with shit like this. All of the funds in the society go into funding these psychotic police departments that recently raided this old woman who streamed Minecraft. Let's say cops came in, and this is after.
Do you want to talk to them about it?
Sure. Let me tell you about my swatting experience. I was asleep. I was so asleep. I did not want to get up. And these policemen came in the door. The prettiest policewoman I've ever seen, the beautiful eyes, so sweet. But I think she could kick butt if she needed to. She was so sweet. And they walked me out, and I didn't know what was going on, but it was kind of fun. It was.
The fact that police will descend on somebody's house and have this over a phone call, not even, it's kind of wild. We live in a complete police state. Yeah, she's funny. Yeah, so she started her channel for her grandson's cancer treatment, and like 20 cars and drones surrounded her house. Out of control. I saw Ford today was promoting a release of, I think it's his documentary that he's releasing called The Fall of the Boogaloo. While the Boogaloo rises as a highly armed insurgent wing of the militia movement, federal law enforcement strike from within.
Been a federal informant for the FBI. Boogaloo movement is a turkey shoot for the federal government.
They killed Breonna Taylor. They murdered her in her sleep. Duncan Socrates lived. He was a buddy of mine. You know what they did? They entered his home and they murdered him while he slept.
That's the moment that I said, okay, people are going to die for this.
Hey, officers, that means Boogaloo. Hell yeah!
This is the showdown.
Get your hand off your gun.
It's not like they were just going to arrest me. My goons ain't going to allow that.
They knew that we were ready to step if they were going to step.
I think he had gotten to the point that he felt like he was untouchable. I think he was just trying to build up to an event like January 6th.
So January 6th, very unexpected day for everyone. You're banging out. I wasn't here.
I don't know if it was a very unexpected day for everyone. The Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers and all them were planning that shit for months.
Getting anybody.
Main thing that he posted how
Charlie Kirk bust people out there, but specifically the militias had a military strategy plan for that day.
However, was
that they carried out in a very, very sloppy fashion.
That there were 4 fire teams inside of the Capitol.
And I was like, hey, let's take a picture, let's pose or whatever.
Every 3-letter agency there is was probably looking to at least speak with him after that.
3 FBI agents knocked on my door. They pretty much told me that they had heard I was Mike Dunn's personal hitman. That night he explained to me, yeah, I have a guy that I'm in contact with constantly, but I'm not an informant.
If I'm a federal asset, why are they asking other people questions about me and my alleged hitman?
We're not out here putting hits on people like the mob.
It's so easy for the feds to end up infiltrating these groups because they have zero moral qualms with snitching, which is good, probably. Definitely good, actually.
He goes in his car, pulls these out, and hands me this. The ricin thing came out.
That whole fake his death plan, that definitely surprised me.
I drove down there to pick Mike up.
He drove, 18 hours down to grab me.
This could have literally been one of the first test fire shots that night.
He said he wanted to pick up some ammunition.
I was going there for that, and Mike was picking up Tannerite.
I didn't automatically think like you're a fed, and that's what's happening here.
At this point, David had started talking very off. He mentioned the hospital in Bangor, Maine. This is why we've got Tannerite. I've got the steel ball bearings. I have everything we need to make an explosive.
Mike immediately was like, don't you think that we should plant an explosive at the ATF building?
Did that happen?
No.
I know I'm on the fucking wire now.
Did any conversation about anything like that?
Yes.
Are they literally about to turn me into a patsy and frame me for a domestic terrorist act?
And he pulled a gun on me.
And he still has the gun in front of him, not me. I'm the gun in him.
Pulled my Glock out, pointed at him, and called the FBI.
Mike Dunn took the guns and brought him to the police station.
Get the fuck out of here. What do you mean he took your fucking guns, bro?
And people were angry about it. They said I stole the guy's truck and his guns because I did take them and I left forcefully.
I took his patch. I burned it. Let him see this in a pile of ashes.
He came out clean to you saying that he's with the FBI.
Yes. His FBI agent's name is like Sarah Fisher or some shit.
I fully believe that she is Mike's handler.
That agent's the reason I'm alive today.
We will not comply.
At 19, 20, 21-year-old me wanted to be a part of it all, and I wanted to fight.
Me, the people never know.
I wanted to fight. I wanted to go to war. I wanted to die because of how depressed this country has become.
This is the FBI. We have a search warrant.
I knew at that point that it was over. Everybody had just turned on each other.
I hated the feds so long. What type
He was a cop?
of person do I look like to say thank you to the FBI? They're the reason I'm alive. People don't see what goes on behind the scenes, and I thank them for it.
FBI.
Out of the Boogaloo, everybody is snitching. Yeah, everybody.
I don't know where he's going to be releasing that, But
I've never.
Let's see if he answers. No.
We
Yeah, I'm
have
not
a federal
sure if he'll be
informant.
releasing it on his YouTube or if it'll be out elsewhere. But that's Ford Fisher. He goes around in videos like every major protest and event. He was the one who caught all that video of the guy who climbed the bridge in Washington, D.C. a couple weeks ago. So follow him and his news to share. That should be pretty interesting for sure. Yeah, I think that might be all I got tonight. Just trying to catch up on chat, seeing if I've missed anything. Well, yeah, I should have some new videos coming out soon. I'll have to work on that. I've been getting slowly set up as I've kind of transitioned out of my other work situation. As you can see, I got some graphics and stuff now. I mean, they can be better. I'll improve it over time, but you know what I mean. I'm getting there, and hopefully a very consistent schedule of videos, like standalone videos, not just the streams. But yeah, definitely join the Discord. It won't always be free. So if the Discord is posted on YouTube, that is where you can find it in the YouTube chat. It will not always be free, but if you get in now, it will be free for you forever. So that is cool. And also, if you sign up for my Patreon for $10, you will get a different book every month until I've run out of books to send you. And I've written a bunch of books. So you could get pretty much half price on all my books, and you could cancel when you stop getting them if you want, or you could downgrade to a lower tier. That works too. But yeah, and if you see any outlets that are accepting submissions for new journalists and stuff like that, let me know, because I have been looking. But yeah, I will catch you all tomorrow. Peace. Don't forget to check out my other videos. And if you have the ability and want to contribute, take a look at my Patreon, where you can get a subscription to my books and other cool stuff. I have some other videos to watch, so if you haven't seen them, go and binge on them. I'll see you next time.